Good morning, comma, everyone, period. This activity is called Punctuation is Possible, period. I would like each one of you to get 3 or 4 sheets of paper, comma, 1 red crayon, colored pencil or marker, and 1 yellow crayon, colored pencil or marker, period. Command. When you ask someone to do something, comma, dependent clause, whether your contraction, you are saying it nicely or in a mean way, comma, it is called a command, period. Statement. Every single street has signs on it, period. Some of the signs are to slow the person in the car down, to check for other cars, for situations that might be coming up, comma, for potholes, comma, for any number of things that they don't contraction necessarily need you to stop, comma, but they need you to slow down. So if you think of every sentence is like a street, some have yellow signs where you slow down, comma, and others have stop signs, comma, when you completely stop the street, period. So what I want you to do, students, is take a look at the models that I have for you. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully everything is set up. Looks like it is. Share my screen. Now I have my advanced. So I clicked on share screen, advanced content from a second camera, then click share. And so you're going to see a small version of page 130 in my binder. So the first thing you're going to do is draw a street on the bottom of a sheet of paper, period. Whenever you have a statement or a command, comma, that needs a stop sign called a period. So with today's lesson, after we finish drawing these, comma, all we're going to work on is the 3 stop signs that we need, period. Okay? The arrow means the street has a beginning and a middle, then it's going to have an ending, period. When you draw the next one, you can flip the paper over and draw on the other side, or you can use separate ones if you want to, but you're going to need several more sheets if you're going to use a separate sheet for each stop sign and slowing down sign. The next street we're going to call as a question mark. And again, what you'll do is you'll draw a little street on the bottom of the page with a straight line. Think of a question mark like an ear that someone is asking something that requires a response, where someone says the answer to their question in a complete sentence. So an ear is them waiting for a response. What is your name? Question mark. Do you like pickles? Question mark. Now, for those of you that teach Spanish, the cool thing real quick I'll show you is that when you're writing in Spanish, comma, you're going to warn the reader at the beginning of the street. Warning, warning, there's a stop sign at the end of the street where we're asking you a question. So all these words are referring to a question mark. And so what all they do is they basically flip a regular question mark upside down. They ask their question, and then they have to put another question mark at the other end of the street so that the reader is aware, oh, I need to listen because they're asking me something. It's called an interrogative sentence period. Okay? The third kind, exclamation, exclamatory. Whenever you're excited about something, let's call it exclamation. Whenever we have our emotions involved. I don't have to go back. I don't, do not have to go back to school until Monday, exclamation point. So there's no ear, there's just a straight line. And I made these sort of cartoonish just to make it more interesting. So what you'll do on this one, boys and girls, is to draw another straight line at the bottom of a page, draw a circle that looks like a period. When you put this line through it, we want to make sure that we understand that whatever we just finished telling people with our mouths or our pencils was said with emotion, period. Now, comma. The same thing applies in Spanish for an exclamation mark. You'll flip the sheet upside down and say, okay, I need to draw one at the front of the street to tell the reader in Spanish, hey there, what I'm about to tell you is emotionally involved. So there's the dot upside down. And you can either, if you're with the students like I do, actually just have them hold the sheet. I don't flip the sheet, I have the student hold the paper in place, comma, and I switch. I just flip the entire student upside down, holding him, of course, being very careful not to drop him, exclamation point. Okay, now let's talk briefly how we're going to get ready to do the slowing down. Why am I spending time on punctuation, you're asking? Question mark. It seems like students all the way to high school have a misconception when it comes to using punctuation that slows a sentence down and punctuation that stops the sentences, period. Comma is yellow. So we'll draw a line. You can draw a line all the way across because somewhere in the middle, beginning, or end of a sentence, we're going to have a comma. Think of it like this. Commas come on down, and the opposite of a comma is an up apostrophe. Up apostrophes, contractions go up, and make sure you still draw a street. I don't have mine there, but there's a street down here. Whatever words are written on the street, if every word is like a car on the street, we want to make sure that we're not tailgating. In other words, put enough space between each car, each word in the street, so that we can tell them apart from each other. Then you can have your stop sign. But we're going to be working this weekend on apostrophes and commas, knowing the difference when to slow down and when to do apostrophes and contraction, where we say things like won't. I toss the ball because the contraction is up there. It means will not. Some of you were seeing my Facebook post from MacDonald's the other day. They had a sign where they had it's, and it was it is, and it wasn't an it is sentence, period. It was an it's ownership sentence. So even adults make that mistake. Okay, a few more that you're going to draw. This is a little bit harder. Whenever it comes to dialogue, I called this the 5 cuz. So and so said, and said should be dead. We're going to try and get rid of that one and use other said words. K, comma, number one. We'll call it number one. K, quotation. Number two, quotations are up. K, capital. So when you have dialogue, there's three K's that happen right in a row. Whatever is said, whatever actual words come out of the person's mouth. This is an amazing lesson. K, closing. We have to close the street with one of the three stop signs that we mentioned earlier. And K, quotation, because we're done talking. So if you think of it like this, comma, here's a mouth, and many kids have dimples before their mouths and after their mouths. So we can think, okay, before they talk, look for those dimples. After they're done talking, look for the other set of dimples. If you don't have both sets of dimples, it's a punctuation mistake. 5 K's that happen. These 4 are related to punctuation, and the capital, the first word in a direct quotation, is related to dialogue. So if you teach secondary, 5th grade or higher is going to have to learn semicolons, and I want you to use a red and a yellow for that one. Now explain. It's because we're going to have our little street. There's going to be 2 independent sentences, and a lot of times teachers in the lower grades teach, hey, here's an independent clause, here's another independent clause, but we're going to join them with a comma to slow the sentence down and put what we call a fanboys. Okay, don't forget the S before because of the word so. So yes, the sentence is going to stop, comma, but it says we need 2 independent sentences that relate in some way and can be combined with a semicolon. This can be an alternative to using the comma and the fanboy for the same exact purpose. And I'm noticing that a lot of students in middle school and high school get really confused. They seem to be able to do okay with the comma and the fanboys, but they struggle with when to use a semicolon. Just keep in mind that whatever word is next here after the first sentence, one of the rules of using semicolons is you don't capitalize that first word like you would with 2 separate sentences, and you don't even capitalize it when it's a comma with a fanboy because you would have a conjunction right here. And that's the big difference between joining 2 sentences. So I have an activity that says here's independent clause number 1, here's independent clause number 2, and we sing that little song, come together right now, because you're joining 2 independent clauses. So if there's what change could be made in sentences blah and blah, one of the changes could be to join those 2 independent clauses with a semicolon. Now the last one that I want to talk to you about before we do a couple of examples with stop signs are colons. They're used in sentences to introduce something that follows, like a quotation, an example, or list. They can also be used to separate hours from minutes in time. For example, right now it's about 8:25, 8 hours and 25 minutes. You can separate verses from chapters, like in Bible, for example, ratios. The number of students who are actually listening right now is probably 1:4. 1 out of every 4 students is actually listening. You're hearing, comma, but you're not listening because our ears are trained to tune people out after a certain amount of time. So then what we're going to do now, if we've drawn all of these, you either need, what was that, 1, 2, you're going to put them all on the same sheet. We need 1, 2, 3, we need at least 3 sheets, but possibly 6 or 7 if you're going to do it with one on each sheet. So then you're going to go to page 129 of the binder, and what we'll do is we'll model some examples of just the first three. And this is page 129. It says punctuation. All ending punctuation below is red like a stop sign. Pausing punctuation is, you can see it, yellow, or slowing down only. So we're only going to talk about these three, the stop signs, this morning. Period. That's a statement in this situation. Capital, because we've already talked about capital by now. What we will leave for vacation in the morning. Period. Now, let's do a teachable moment of instruction, TMI. Capital, in the morning, comma, we will leave for vacation. If you flip it around, that's not a dependent clause because it just says when. It's just called an introductory phrase. And whenever the sentence has less than 4 words at the beginning for the introductory phrase, the comma is optional. Like capital, tomorrow, comma, we will leave for vacation, period. You could say also capital, tomorrow we will leave for vacation, period. Because the introductory phrase will be short, you don't need a period. So what you guys to do is raise your hand for a moment. We'll pause the video so each of you have a chance to give some statements. I'll pause right now, teacher, so that you can talk with your students. All right, now let's talk about commands. When you tell someone either nicely or in a mean way to do something, a command. Sit over there. Sit over there. Now, comma, if you want to make sure that your students are accountable for capitalization, you can say capital, putting on my cap for the first word in the sentence. Sit over there. Sit over there. There's only 3 words. So if I was playing a little game of making sentences and I was rolling a dice or a set of dice, one die would have had a 2 and a 1, and I would have to make a sentence with only 3 words. That's called let's roll. If I was using a deck of cards, I would have pulled out a 3 of clubs, hearts, spades, or diamonds, and I'd make a sentence. So that's called deal with it. Just some games that you can play to kind of make the practice of the sentences more interesting. So a command. Get out of my room right now. Capital, get out of my room right now. That one was 7 words, so you might have rolled a 7, a 4, and a 3 with some dice, a 5 and a 2, a 6 and a 1. Those are the 3 different ways that you can get a 7, if I'm not mistaken. The other stop sign is called a question mark, interrogatory. Capital, what is the homework for today? Question mark. So the stop sign is at the end of all these words. And notice that we put space between each word. Each word is like a card that needs to be spaced out, because if we have two words smashed together, they had an accident, and we're going to have to call Geico. Don't forget the question mark looks like an ear, so the answer would probably have to be following this question. The homework is due tomorrow, comma, and it is just practicing statements, comma, commands, comma, questions, comma, and exclamatory sentences, period. So the last one we're going to practice today is emotionally involved. So I'm going to grab my heart down here. Capital, I can't. Why did I toss the ball? Because I see a yellow contraction there. Can not believe that capital, I actually passed the test! Exclamation. So again, after each one, go ahead and think of a question that you can ask somebody. Try to make sure it's a complete thought, a complete street, also known as a complete sentence period. Then take a moment to practice one that's emotionally involved. I really hate capital. I really hate having to do online school! Exclamation. Exclamation period. I really hate having to do online school. So if I was doing it with dice, that would have been an 8 that I rolled. Or I could have a deck of cards and I would have pulled out an 8 from a deck of cards. You can buy cards 2 for $1 at the dollar, 2 little packages of complete decks of cards at the Dollar Tree. And so if you're doing it with your class, you can kind of shuffle your deck, teachers, place the deck on the screen so your students can see it, comma, and allow each student to take a turn. You can shuffle, 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 or keep flipping cards until the student says stop, comma, and that would be the sentence. That would be the number of words in their sentence, practicing statements and commands with periods, interrogatory sentences with question marks, and exclamatory sentences with exclamation marks. So that's our lesson for today. Let me know how it goes. If you feel like you have some students who struggle with this, I'm going to just let you know, don't forget, for those of you that have the digital or hard copy, in order to do this lesson and let your students be able to follow along, you'll need from pages 129 all the way. If you're secondary, you would go all the way to page 137. So you guys have a great day. Email me at writing_doctor@yahoo.com if you have any questions, or message me on Facebook. This has been posted to my YouTube page so that any of you teachers who want to share it with your students and you have Facebook blocked, come on, we will solve that problem by just going straight to the YouTube page and showing it there. So if you just look up my name, you'll be able to find it in YouTube. Thank you guys, and